We look great, dude.
Can you bring your mic closer to you?
Yeah.
Both of you
Yeah,
guys?
of course.
Leo Tat. What's your name again?
Pierce.
Pierce. I was thinking Jonathan. My brain is on.
No worries.
Pierce.
Yeah.
Tap. Like smack it. Gotcha.
Awesome.
Wow, this is. I'd say this set definitely fits the vibe of our podcast a lot more. Just tech and business. So
Keep it.
yeah, I love it, man.
Good,
Also-
Pierce?
Hello?
Beautiful. I just like the tap and then. So mic etiquette. Right here. You go loud, push it away. You go soft, pull the mic closer to you.
Okay.
You guys watch TV shows. You guys watch like radio shows and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So you know when someone's speaking, they're speaking like this. Or if they come closer to you, they have it like this.
Yeah.
Or if they sit back, they have it like this. But if you're going loud, you want to pull it away from you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all. I don't.
That
want
way you try to have the most consistent audio, like you were explaining.
Yeah.
We're gonna need that in frame. Leo,
And yeah, I guess we'll.
Leo, your camera 2, Pierce, your camera 3.
Yeah.
You'll see it on the screen.
We'll just remind Joey to adjust his microphone.
Yeah. We'll give him a. He's very adjustable. We'll get him. Quick question as well. Do you happen to have any sort of like microfiber towel or anything like kind of clean my glasses?
Actually, we should have a bunch of that stuff here.
Yeah, I'm assuming maybe for the camera lenses you may have some. But yeah, full clean of my glasses. I'll feel. Yeah, this looks great, Pierce. Just the visuals of this. We already.
It looks good.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I think this is gonna resonate with the hearts of our audience. They're gonna see us in a pretty good light.
You guys talk business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for one episode, I would
Yeah.
come in, everyone like everyone who's gonna be on,
Mhm.
Yeah.
everyone come in onesies.
That
Talk
would be
business.
cool. Yeah, I mean,
It will
honestly.
throw people off that they will actually listen. Like, why the fuck are these guys in onesies talking business? That alone, like, my degree's in business, so the psychology of it is the best part.
Yeah.
You just gotta play the psychology of it.
Yeah, because it's like. Then it's like, all right, these guys aren't just the same as like everyone else. They actually have some like interesting angle or something.
And that's why you have a podcast. And
Yeah.
not a TV
Mhm.
show.
Yeah, you have a wonderful intuition for podcasts.
Oh, I'm good at this shit. People are like, you gotta be more. I can't find the micro towels. I apologize.
Mm.
I can't find the little towels for you.
All right. I could
Like,
just.
You should be more, like confident about it, because I'm a very, like you listen, you don't listen. That's what weird to do. But nothing. I'm listening.
No worries.
Would you like? No, that wouldn't work. I was gonna say, would you like tape, but that might be too rough.
It is what it is. I still at least have my.
We have cameras here, so we have to have, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, in the future, would you guys want ISO angles? So we send you the live switch, but we also send you each camera's video. This
Probably-
might cost you extra, but it's something
Yeah.
you might want to look into, especially if you edit yourself.
Yeah.
It gives you more editing freedom. Because I don't switch thinking with an editor's brain.
Mhm.
I switch with a producer's brain.
Yeah.
But when it comes to editing, there's a clip you might be like, I wish he had stayed on your angle more.
Mm-hmm.
I might have gone straight to wide.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I think for now, I think we can forego the add-on.
Future.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I hope we got some of the conversation we just shared. I noticed it's on ISO recording. Beautiful. I think that's more than good enough as a start. I think we won't even cut that out. I think just having that in, having people recognize just what it's like to be in the studio, what it's like to have an engineer, and what it's like to speak on things. So, welcome everyone. This is the second Tech and Business podcast, hosted by yours truly, Leo Duarte and Pierce Burke. Is there anything you'd like to kind of start off with, Pierce?
I'm excited. I'm excited for the return of Tech and Business. I'm excited for us to come back from our long-awaited hiatus and really hit the ground running tonight with a big statement piece and also the introduction of our third member who has yet to make his debut on screen, Joey Suma.
Absolutely. So, going on the subject matter of the podcast and why we're actually here today, obviously, our first one went very well. Had a great positive reception. We had thousands of views across all social media platforms, and I myself, I was very happy seeing the reception. Lots of discussion. We want to provoke thought, and we want to provoke questions. We want to provoke conversations. I was interviewed, obviously, President Leo Duarte, and I want to say, going into the second one, I would say that this is a podcast to set the tone for the rest of our podcast. As Pierce said, this is the statement piece that will allow us to give you guys the reason why we're actually doing this, the purpose of tech and business, and the nature of tech and business. So, going upon that, Tech and Business is a fully nonprofit newsletter slash podcast that was founded back in July. And the purpose of this is we want to eventually create a network and a platform for education on tech, education on business, and connect like minded, ambitious students together in a place where they can speak to each other and where we can learn from them and where we can learn from each other. We also have connections with academia where we eventually want to have interviews with professors. We realize that we're on the precipice of one of the largest revolutions in human history. And our goal with tech and business is to push humanity forward. Our goal is to help the transition into this now intelligent age and no sort of agenda, no sort of profit motive, no sort of profit incentive for us to parrot any sort of goals or any sort of exterior motives. The agenda here is to educate. The agenda here is to make clear. The agenda here is for us to, and our unique backgrounds and our unique skills, talents, and what we can bring to the table, and make those clear for everybody involved. So I guess we can start off by just going over who we are, our credentials. Who is Leo Duarte? Who is Pierce Burke? Who are we and why do we matter?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, my name is Pierce Burke. I am a math, economics, and computer science major from Amherst College, and I've had a lifelong interest in personal finance, finance on a more macro scale, and also artificial intelligence since a very young age, having started coding in Java and Python at age 4, and then continuing that interest in technology and computer science with a science fair project on artificial intelligence and Google's DeepMind and AlphaFold all the way back in 2017. So it's been an absolute ride for me to witness all of the society altering introductions that artificial intelligence has made to overwhelmingly change everything that we know is conventional and traditional up to this point. Um, I think that all 3 of my majors, alongside a lot of the experience I have extracurricularly talking to people who are prominent in the field of artificial intelligence, definitely prepares me to help bridge that gap that tech and business aims to bridge between transformation and transformative events and misinformation. Because as we had said, we don't have any type of profit motivations. There's a lot of deceptive and sly dissemination of information out there on the internet, on the more conventional media platforms that clearly have some type of ulterior motive in the way that they're presenting all of these new technologies affecting our society, whether that's with artificial intelligence, either super optimistic and claiming that in the immediate short term, we're going to have some type of paradise introduced by this new technology and there aren't going to be any measurable downsides or any difficulties with legislating this new technology when governments have historically been pretty slow at legislating new technologies. Or there are alternatively other people proclaiming that artificial intelligence is going to bring the end of society as we know it, and humans are going to lose their dominance over the technology that we create, and many bad things will happen. However, we seek to provide a more reasoned, objective, and factual perspective in order to bridge that gap and help you curate all of that misinformation that is out there and being pushed onto you on the daily. Because obviously, with this technology, we're seeing progress faster than ever before, and it's hard to keep track of everything. It's hard to keep track of the well reasoned and factual reporting of the most recent developments in artificial intelligence, and we're here to bridge that gap, and that's why I have a certain skill set that is well positioned to help deliver that message. But what about you, Leah? What would you say qualifies you for this position?
Well, absolutely, and I'd say it's amazing being able to share this seat and this platform with someone genuinely experienced and with actual accolades and achievements in this field. So, about me, I am Leo Duarte. As stated before, I am a startup founder. I've been running my company for over a year now, actually. I have graduated with my bachelor's in business management at the age of 20. I was the first in my class to do so. I have had a lifelong interest in business, and one of the biggest things that I do is pragmatically implement AI. And I feel that I've had this interest in perspective in computer science and software engineering and just using artificial intelligence to the most that I can, that I feel I could bring and I could help elucidate with everybody. I think that my goal here is to bring together everyone that I can, everybody that we have in our personal network to help with this goal and help inform. And with me, I'm actually the progenitor of this idea. I was the one who originally went to Pierce and suggested that we create this newsletter. I believe that both of us had this unique voice. We both had these unique skill sets. And as we kind of continue with this, as we publish more frequently, as we kind of make more content available to all of you, obviously we're coming off of a 3 month hiatus. And I just wanted to comment on that and say that just naturally between work, between school, we had to evolve and we adapted and we realized that this video content is a bit more compelling than our articles for right now. Obviously, I don't mean to move away from articles. It's not the goal for us to just could stop the newsletter. Our goal is to introduce pragmatic video first content through our platform so that people can learn from all ages, younger and older. Throughout any stage of life, there is some way artificial intelligence can help you. However, I don't want to come on here and just be like, "Oh, this is this beautiful amazing technology." I actually would like to more personally have these debates and discussions on the ethical kind of proceedings of this. We have podcasts scheduled with Ivy League students on these ethical issues, and I think that it is a more interesting and obviously a perspective that we must hold and highlight the fact that these technologies have genuine drawbacks like environmental concerns such as job market concerns, economic concerns, and our job is to provide a perspective on all aspects of that. It's not going to just be any sort of parroting or super positive, unnecessarily positive kind of psychopathy and what we're going to be doing between us two. So obviously, this first kind of half hour of this podcast is going to be dedicated between us, and we're going to be speaking and going deeper into these topics, and we're going to be honestly just giving you guys, of course, as we've given you our credentials and where we see this newsletter eventually becoming. I would say that this newsletter, the goal of it is to create a network. The goal of it is to connect others. We're positioned in the heart of New York City, the epicenter of pretty much the world. And we recognize that the location is going to be something that aids us. We aim to use our resources to the maximum leverage. And Piers and I are paying out of pocket for this. It's not something where I'm like, oh, give us sympathy because we're paying out of pocket for everything. It's more so that me and him are both passionate to the point where we truly believe in the mission of this. We truly believe that we were given inherent gifts and talents that we must use. It is only morally correct for us to use these to actually bring people together. And I guess we can go into our roles personally, just contributing to the newsletter. I, of course, was responsible for beginning this. I'm responsible for booking the podcasts. I'm responsible for bringing people together. And currently, I serve as the infrastructure and design lead, as I also have a computer science background. I also have a large interest in programming and software that I've been programming for around 3 years now, and obviously, I'm at the frontier of kind of the impact of these models, as obviously software engineering is a field directly impacted by how AI is evolving. And I think that my perspective can help bring light to how AI is going to be used and how AI is currently being used, and that our predictions that have gone well so far. And if you want to speak about kind of how you've predicted as well, um, we have a track record, and obviously we're not perfect, and this is going to be to the best of our ability. However, I do have a genuine mission in all of this. We do have a genuine intent, and that's why we have chosen to keep this a nonprofit. We've not chosen to, make your viewers. You guys are not our product. The viewers here, we're not monetizing from you. The only product that we are sharing is straight education and just genuine, informed opinions, facts, and perspective. And we want to provoke discussion. We want to eventually hold discussions and debates and forums and have educated people from all walks of life, all aspects of life, who are impacted in many sort of ways by this technology, artificial intelligence, that is shaping up to be in the same facet of another industrial revolution. I think this is a technology that's going to impact humanity. It is certainly here to stay. And I will be the one to say that no matter what you do, no matter where you go, AI is going to impact your life. And that is a bet that I will hedge upon with my life. I feel that no matter what kind of happens here, AI is going to impact your life in some way, shape, or form. And staying on top of that and staying pragmatic as well is my goal with everything here. I would like to say, of course, that there's shining lights, flashing lights, obviously, and that we're showmen and we have an entertainment aspect to this as well, which I only feel is a benefit. I don't feel that anything we'll do is just for a comedic purpose or a comedic sense. We want to genuinely provoke rational discussion within all of this. And we want to genuinely just continue forward with our skill sets, our networks, our people around us, and just make this goal and further it between now and years from now. There is no kind of end to tech and business for right now. We've gone through periods of not speaking to each other for weeks. We have had work, we've had other obligations on top of this, but tech and business remains. And for everybody watching and for everyone who has watched, we appreciate you genuinely, because what we do here is from the pits of our heart. It's something that we hold dear to us, and we're going to continue to do it, and we're only going to continue to get better with it. And as we progress, as we evolve, I hope that you guys are along for the ride, for the journey that this has been, founding a kind of a new venture. This is Pierce's kind of you have had entrepreneurial experience, but I would say that this has kind of superseded what you've done previously. Obviously, I've ran businesses before, and this is kind of my second real kind of business that I've ran. So I would like to say that it's a beautiful opportunity, and I feel blessed that I'm sitting on this chair right now with an audience watching me, with the ability to kind of give you guys my perspective and my voice. So, where would you like to continue, Pierce?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we're definitely intent on keeping that educational aspect and that unbiased, unmotivated by ulterior causes aspect of our accessible reporting. And as well, while we are going to move away from the weekly releases of articles, we are hopefully in the future going to be moving towards quarterly, seasonal releases of higher quality but less frequent article output in order to still have some type of written presence. But as Leo had said, we think that in order to stay true to our mission and to reach the most people in our age group as possible, of all age groups, we're fed up with kind of like academia or more prestigious conventional um, reporting and media's tendency to kind of like gatekeep and promote certain complex topics in a way in which the average person can't understand, because a lot of their marketing power lies in the fact that they have some type of expertise that gives them a better ability to explain a lot of these complex topics than the average person. But we're fully transparent and intent from the beginning on making everything that we discuss as accessible and reachable as possible. And through pivoting to that short form content or that video first content philosophy, we believe that we are more so aligning our actions with that ultimate goal of reaching the most people possible and illuminating the most objective and factual information about such drastic and dramatic significant changes on our daily lives.
And that's beautifully said. And obviously, it's our goals and our current purpose. We view it as a life purpose to continue with this. It's something that will continue to be deeply held within us. And we want to make these foundational beliefs very clear, very apparent, as we have not had the opportunity yet to kind of go over these. So, obviously, establishing what the newsletter is and kind of what we're going to be speaking about today. Obviously, we're going to go a bit more in depth on our conversation. We'd like to bring an economical, mathematical, financial, and business perspective onto recent developments within this field. Obviously, the AI bubble being a massive kind of development that we'd like to go over, especially as we have our third co host here. But just kind of continuing with applications of AI, I'd like to ask questions to the audience like, watching this podcast, hearing these two 20-year-olds just kind of speak about their experience. Like, AI has impacted you in some way, shape, or form. How do you stay on top of that? Those questions come to mind. How do you navigate this ever changing landscape when, 3 years ago or 2 years ago now, we saw stuff like GPT, early GPT models? I remember I was in the classroom and my physics teacher used it to create class plans, and he said it wasn't very good. Nowadays, 2 years progress has been made, and I would say that AI has extreme educational application. And I want to make that clear that I think that AI will genuinely build these equitable bridges for evolving education itself and for ensuring that any person, underprivileged or not, has a personal tutor with contextual kind of background knowledge to who they are. And obviously, we're at a point now where AI is hallucinating less and less. Just in the past month, we've saw four separate model releases. How do you stay on top of that as a normal average person who isn't very technologically evolved, who, maybe an average Gen X or baby boomer, like who hasn't even gone on social media? Like, how do you navigate that rapid evolution? And those are questions that we pose to ourselves. And we realize that, like, there is a kind of need for more better educational sources. And obviously, we're kind of going on about like, oh, this is going to be a great educational thing. And like, it's just kind of executing on that now. And again, provoking this rational discussion for everyone involved and for every viewer who has been watching this. Um, I hope that you're able to take away a lot from this, and I hope that you can value our perspective, and I hope that we can come off as trustworthy as well, not just to come off as trustworthy, but as a place of genuine, authentic voice, like a genuine, authentic voice that we're trying to project to all of you.
Yeah, yeah, and exactly as you were saying, like, that is the question. There are a lot of people, the average Gen X baby boomer person, maybe a little bit disconnected from technology to begin with, not really working in a field in which it requires you to be super up to date with these super recent AI developments. The question is, how do you navigate that? The only way, if you aren't super invested and on top of the super technical releases and details, is that all of this information is curated for you by the legacy media, by the news channels, by all of these more conventional forms of media that have all of these investors and ulterior motives. And we are simply here trying to help you navigate all of these changes and help you have more agency in being a more informed consumer of all of the reporting that is going on that is deceptive and misaligned from your best interest out there today. And the more that we can provide to you, the more that you can be an informed consumer of all of the vast amounts of information that are being curated by people making decisions outside of your hands. And so the more we can give you that access and freedom to make your own informed decisions and critiques of all of this information coming to you, the better we can achieve our message of increasing that accessibility and understanding of all of these developments happening around us.
I agree. And as we grow our platform, we'd like to use this for good, obviously. I would like to bring ethical discussions. I would like to bring equitable discussions as well. As we kind of grow this, we intend to release this in multiple languages. We intend to reach a global audience. We intend for this podcast to be viewed in Spanish, in Japanese, in French as well. And we want to continue this kind of global sense where, like, obviously countries develop at separate paces, and this technology is going to impact every country. It's going to impact potentially leadership itself and management itself. And the actual intricacies of that and the details of that is something that we'd kind of like to share. Like the actual inner workings of AI itself and understanding that from a neural network perspective, like how these LLMs actually work, how we kind of progress and how obviously we're looking at the elimination of a large percentage of human labor. And how do you even navigate that? How do you even deal with a job market when white collar jobs are being eradicated? How do you deal with your job, something you've worked in? Let's say you're a software engineer, you've been working there 20 years. You see something like Opus 4.5 come out, scoring 80% on the SWE bench. How do you even deal with that? How do you even deal with these kind of technologies that have like kind of transformed the way we think? And obviously, like, there's many sort of questions, and I don't feel like I'm the most well equipped to answer every question. But using and creating a platform, and the purpose in that is to eventually bring every sort of perspective. And obviously, we are going to be bringing people at the frontier of AI itself, and we are going to have them speak, and we are going to have as many different people as we can get. So let's say you're with these kind of evolving models, let's say you're an individual who has trouble in the ongoing job market. We want to help and give tips and give advice and let you know the parameters. We know what is actually being replaced, what isn't, what human aspect can still be kind of maintained. And obviously, we want to keep that discussion going on maintaining the human aspect in sort of things such as art. Like you see something like graphic design in Nano Banana 3 being released just last week. Graphic design is likely as a field going to be very severely impacted, as it's a lot cheaper to just get an AI to kind of prompt and make that yourself. We want to provoke discussion on the ethics of that. What is the ethical and moral impact of a job displacement, let's say a graphic designer who is being replaced by just an AI? Is there soul in an AI art? Is there soul in kind of the furthering of that kind of aspect of this technology? And obviously, we want to go more in depth. And I think purposely we're staying a little surface level just in the beginning of this podcast, just to give you guys a complete, comprehensive overview of just the breadth of this mission. And I take it upon myself. I do not stray away from challenges. You know that from the first podcast. And Pierce, as well, I think is more than greatly equipped to help carry this out. And we realize we're 20 now. And this is a big thing for two 20-year-olds to kind of go upon. But if anything, I think that's motivating. I think we are, as Zoomers, just completely well equipped. We've seen AI itself grow upon us, and I think we are in the greatest possible position to give you guys this information and knowledge, especially from a pragmatic perspective. As Zoomers, we've literally seen AI kind of take over stuff like college, where it's doing assignments now. You've seen stuff like how it's going into work itself, and we are the ones who have to deal with that. The graduating classes of 2026, 2027, 2028 are going to be directly impacted by the furthering of this technology. And we want to be the ones who kind of speak about that and who can at least bring some light and some discussion and help people at least be informed with everything.
Certainly, certainly. Um, and I'm definitely very excited for Joey to come in and provide a little bit of a financial aspect and perspective on some of the ways the larger markets as a whole have been changing recently. As we alluded to, we will be talking about the financial bubble with artificial intelligence and some of Michael Burry from The Big Short's recent statements, such as deregistering his firm, and definitely very excited for Joey to bring in his perspectives as well.
And of course, just between us two, we have connections between some of the brightest students in the world, and we want to bring them and give them voices. I think empowering voices is another thing that this platform that is being created is going to be doing. I feel that there is a lot of students and a lot of talented people who simply aren't given an opportunity to kind of speak on this. It's like I think it's too hard to kind of be given relevant opportunities that aren't clouded again by these incentives and motives and investors, where we want to provide something independent of all of that, all of the hubris that you kind of have to deal with. And I think that there are many different perspectives that should all be kind of highlighted and should all be valued equally, obviously. And I think that at the end of the day, it's a mission that we're looking to kind of carry out. And we will seek to any sort of ends to actually get that done. And I think there are no better people to do it than us two. And I think with the evolution of this newsletter, as you guys will see, We are going to have this podcast released on Friday, and we are going to kind of have an entirely new website that I am actually developing. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. There's nothing but progress being made, and we are working on this very diligently. Aside from all of our commitments, obviously we're looking still to expand our team to get other like-minded, ambitious people and students to help us out with this. And eventually, we want to be known on a national platform, on a national scale. I think there's no better place to do that than New York City. So,
Definitely. And this is our statement piece, and tech and business is here to stay. Very excited for the future. We're looking forward to up our frequency of output, whether it's reels, whether it's weekly podcasts. A lot of exciting stuff to come. And we are here to stay.
absolutely. Just being here to stay. And I want you guys to have at least some confidence in us and the consistency at what we can kind of release this at. We had a hiatus, we've had momentum, we've had issues, and we go past those. We overcome the challenges that are kind of presented to us. And obviously, like, we have our own issues and we have our own kind of shortcomings and fallbacks and drawbacks. However, it's navigating those drawbacks and challenges and continuing to execute at an excellent level and to just actually genuinely provide good fucking content. That is what we're looking to do. And I will never stray away from any sort of conversation or debate. I want to make it known that we are completely transparent in our dealings. There is no sort of discussion that we will stray away from. All aspects are being covered. Everything, the negatives, the drawbacks. Some people hate AI, obviously. Some people despise this technology and fear it. We want to give those people a voice express their concerns and to make sure and ensure all aspects of this are being covered.
Certainly, certainly. Um, Definitely a very interesting slate of topics that we've alluded to today that we'll only get into more so once Joey comes in. Um, but yeah, I guess essentially we're just looking for a fraction of the same type of commitment from you guys, our audience, as we have in this message and this purpose and this mission. Um, and so if we can sell you guys even maybe in 100th of the commitment and buy-in that we are to this message, that would mean the world to us, and we'd really appreciate it, especially in these earlier stages of the entire tech and business network.
Absolutely. So, as we kind of continue on, our co host Joey is going to be here very soon, and we're going to get very deep. I think the first kind of discussion we want to have is on the AI bubble. And I think that it's a topic that economics, economists, and obviously these legacy brands and media have covered, but I feel that they miss the more pragmatic perspective and the genuine understanding of AI and how it's going to actually impact the world. I think, as Pierce said, I think that the immediacy of the short term benefit is overstated. And what does that mean for the job market? And giving our perspectives, our informed perspectives on that to help you guys who obviously are dealing with this job market understand kind of how stuff is going to be continuing and proceeding. That is our goal. So I think with everything being said, I think we should invite Joey on to come in. And yeah, I think we're ready. So yeah.
Should be here any moment.
Do you want me to keep it rolling?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where would you like me to sit?
Probably over there. And now I think it's time to get into the juicier, more in-depth content that we've kind of been holding off on. I think it's time to get this discussion that we've been talking about. Oh, we want to start all this discussion. I think it's time to actually have that discussion. So come in.
No way.
Yep.
The man himself.
How's it going, guys?
How you doing, bro?
Good to see you. Happy to be here.
How you doing?
Good,
How you
good.
doing?
Let's take a seat right over here.
Yeah.
How you doing, Joey?
Not too bad. The trip
Get your
was
mic on.
pretty fast.
Sit
Can't
back.
believe I'm here, but
Just sit back.
yep.
Yeah, we were just getting into the message of tech and business.
Okay. Yeah, kind of the
Fine.
overview of the whole mission, what we're trying to build,
Yeah.
all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess I guess we can go straight into talking maybe a little bit about the AI bubble,
Hmm.
and what have some of your thoughts been recently on some of the statements people.
Actually, I think before we have that discussion, I'd like for yourself to introduce yourself.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
the viewers should know who you are and what you
Yeah,
bring to
so
the
for those of
table.
you who don't know me, Joey Suma, a junior currently at Syracuse, a finance major. I joined Tech and Business back in July when Leo reached out to me about this opportunity. I was doing an internship at the time, was getting super into business and finance and all these different trends going on. And I just thought it'd be a cool opportunity to take on. And here I am now. It's an honor to be in the studio finally with you guys. Super excited to see what we have in store for the rest of this podcast.
So what are some of your credentials? Like where do you go to college and what have you been studying? Like how have you personally been kind of like preparing and studying and being, able to give your perspective on this?
So I feel like my story is really interesting because I wasn't always interested in business at all, really. I've always been into the gym. I thought I was originally going to go to college for exercise science, maybe open my own gym someday, kind of that entrepreneurial side of it, because my dad runs a small business. So that was always something that appealed to me. But I took AP macroeconomics my senior year of high school, and that class really changed my perspective on a lot of things, really got me interested in at least the macro environment to start. Before I knew it, I was doing my own research on stocks and all kinds of things like that. And that's why I originally went in as an econ major to Syracuse, but once I got into this more sort of finance oriented side, I transferred into the business school from arts and sciences, and now finance major as of now.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
So let's kick off the discussion on the AI bubble.
Yeah, I guess what are some of your first impressions of how the market has reacted to
Hmm.
Michael Burry's like initial tweet?
It's so interesting to me because when you have someone who's made claims in the past, bold claims that have actually been correct, and he comes out now and says something with that much weight, that alone is going to really provoke a reaction out of a lot of people, and that's what's absolutely happening.
And this is the Big Short guy, by the way.
Hmm.
Yeah, so for those of you who haven't maybe heard of Michael Burry, um, Christian Bale's the actor's character in the movie The Big Short is portraying this guy Michael Burry who didn't come from a conventional finance background. He was actually a doctor, and then on the side at night he was doing research into his own stocks, and eventually ended up figuring out that there were all of these shaky subprime mortgages being sold to people during the housing crisis, and that there was about to be a collapse of the housing market over a year before it had actually happened. And so he's super well known for his very unorthodox and accurate predictions usually of a lot of these unforeseen financial phenomena. And recently he had similarly said that due to a lot of these shady accounting practices, a lot of this over exaggeration and hype, and a lot of this circular debt and funding between a lot of these companies at the top of the AI industry, um, there should be a little bit more hesitancy and little bit um, less kind of like unfounded confidence behind these companies due to all of these faulty practices and hiding of profit and over-reporting when they shouldn't be. Um, and so we've seen a very interesting series of events. We've seen Nvidia's stock kind of tumble a little bit in the past couple weeks, partly influenced by Michael Burry's statements. We've seen OpenAI and Palantir have some horrible, harsh kind of reactions from a lot of media sources and a lot of the public, and just like an increased general kind of like scrutiny on a lot of these companies and their practices as of late. So it's been very interesting to see the market shake up as a result of that.
I think NVIDIA is probably the most interesting case, in my opinion, at least, because they're really at the forefront of all of this. And yet there's so much, like you said, the circular funding, investing in these companies that produce the software. So they buy more chips and it keeps going on and on. And that's, I think, what's going to tell the whole story going forward is what happens with NVIDIA. Like that is the peak of this all, in my opinion.
And obviously, we've seen their sustained competitive advantage being this chip provider, and obviously with their stock kind of going forward, it's going to set the tone for the market itself, and I think it's going to have great second order effects on kind of how AI is going to be impacted and continue to be profitable within all of this. So my personal prediction is that AI is not going to hit a wall. I think it's going to continue to evolve the way it has been. However, I would say that there is great things to be said by the overhyping, and I would say like over excitement to integrate this, as in the early stages you're seeing these AI, like these companies create bespoke AIs in scenarios where there's no need, and there's unnecessary spending, unnecessary hype, and misunderstandings that have kind of transpired and have led to this increasingly growing bubble that I think honestly I feel will I think we will see some sort of downturn and in kind of AI and its acceleration itself. However, the technology itself is going to continue to progress and continually get better. I think it's kind of undeniable that I think AI has only continued to have more use cases, but I think the use cases that have kind of expired, like let's say a company has made their own AI and there's no reason for it to kind of exist, as frontier models are more than capable of doing and providing those same tasks. I think we're going to see those kind of die out, and I think we're only going to see the markets kind of continue the way as they have been. And I'm curious, obviously, on kind of furthering discussion and continuing to kind of make predictions from our informed perspectives as well.
Go on. Yeah. In terms of who I think will actually be successful long term, I really think in terms of this bubble, this whole bubble thing, there's a huge difference between the established tech giants that have the infrastructure, that have the resources, that have the scalability to implement this effectively long term versus these startups that are just claiming they have some niche carving out they're doing that are providing some unique benefit. Because Microsoft, Google, Apple is running a little behind right now, but I think long term, those companies are all going to be fine. Where I think this bubble is, and what I think people should be more speculative about are the Palantirs, are the Robin Hoods, are the companies like that have benefited from this sort of spike here, but are not really at the forefront of the actual infrastructure behind what's driving the growth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, bringing it back to the circular funding conversation topic, like, there are a lot of companies like Palantir, like OpenAI, that kind of like have these parasitic relationships with these large firms that are more established, like the Apples, the Googles, the Microsofts, and they kind of need to rely on these companies in order to have the infrastructure capabilities possible to deliver on these like growth metrics that they're trying to portray to their investors during all their earnings reports or anything like that. And that is something that should be, I think, definitely a little bit of a cause for concern. And I do think some people are kind of jumping the gun a little bit because also like contextually, if you think about something like the dot-com bubble, um, thinking about like the asymmetry in information with something like the development and like the proliferation of the internet, the amount of uncertainty that we had discussed in the previous 40 minutes and the amount of asymmetric information between a lot of these like consumer finance people, a lot of these regular retail investors, even a lot of these hedge funds is definitely significant. And the fact that there is that much of a asymmetry in information will inherently lend itself to a huge speculative bubble like what we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard to kind of have accurate evaluations in the present moment of how valuable some of these smaller companies that aren't as established are genuinely at the top. And it is in a lot of people's best interest to portray these companies, obviously the founders, people like Sam Altman, as more valuable than they actually are. And then we end up seeing a lot of these kind of fraudulent practices, like we see um, even NVIDIA kind of falsely reporting that some of their data centers or some of their GPUs are going to be lasting a year, a half year, 2 years longer than they actually will until they depreciate so that they can over-report their profits. And when there's so much asymmetric information, it's prime opportunities for these companies to take advantage of that and to exploit their more specific details about their accounting or their profit margins in order to capitalize. But what would you think about that,
I
Leah?
think that's very greatly said. And two topics I'd actually like to touch upon are this rise and growth of startup culture, founder culture that has been proliferated by the increase in AI, and obviously making bets. And this is a great part of the bubble, the fact that like startups themselves have become a more compelling and attractive opportunity for students, for founders, for people of all sorts of ages trying to get their messages out. And I would say that like I think it's a great thing that AI is enabling a lot of these different startups to kind of push the frontier forward in many different fields and aspects of kind of that. And we're definitely seeing a lot more investments. I think a big thing I'd like to touch upon is Project Genesis, the recent multi-billion-dollar kind of project announced by President Trump, and the grand investments that we're kind of seeing into this technology that is going to have a genuine and um, noticeable impact on the way we kind of live our lives. And staying on top of that is kind of something I'd like to talk about and kind of discuss how it's like living in a world that's just ever evolving. It's kind of a lot for some kind of individual to handle. So obviously, navigating artificial intelligence and navigating the evolution of it is a goal of this. However, I like to pose questions to you two, and again for the audience, on how you can still stay informed, like how you can stay on top of these news outlets, how you can stay on top of these developments and the ever evolving nature of this technology.
Well, my opinion, I think a huge thing is not just reading and researching and figuring out how you can use AI, because it's one thing to do that, and then it's another thing to actually use it. I think it's something that not enough people do, in the sense that not enough people learn by doing it, if that makes sense. You need to actually use it for like random things, like, oh, like let's make a recipe, let's write a song, let's do this. Like, you use it to complete these random tasks, and by that you get a better sense of like how you can actually communicate with it as a whole. That's why I'm so fond of it personally.
Yeah, definitely. No, I would say like specifically like just one example of many would be like in the educational sense, what we were talking about earlier. I feel like a lot of people kind of expect artificial intelligence to like be this like wonder technology, and immediately no matter what the prompt is that you provide it, or you can use it to like fully do all of your homework instead of maybe asking guiding questions and using it as more of an informative learning tool. A lot of people kind of don't have an accurate idea in their head of what the current capabilities are. And because everything is moving so quickly, it's hard to stay up to date with that stuff, other than the fact that you just have to engage with it and use it in order to have an idea in your head that's up to date of what its boundaries are, what its current capabilities are, and how to best engineer prompts and how to best extract the most value out of it. And that only comes from interacting with it. And you can never really have as accurate or pragmatic of a sense of what its capabilities are through reading. Just like you had said, you really just have to use it and understand through firsthand experience what its boundaries are, what its upper limits of its capabilities are, and then you'll truly have a more informed perspective how it affects your own daily life.
And I'd like to just mention and note that a lot of my content going into this newsletter is going to be how I personally kind of leverage this and how you can kind of grow from that and learn from that as well. Like obviously we've engaged with AI as individuals on a much larger scale than most people, and I think bringing that kind of experience, knowledge, and wisdom that we kind of possess is going to be a large theme of this newsletter going forward. Let's say in an application sense, just educational wise, that I've used this to learn stuff like software engineering. I've used this to learn other languages and how I actually do that and how you can actually do that yourself. I think bringing light to that and making people aware of the capabilities of that, the parameters, and also its shortcomings. I think a big thing as well is let's say usage of the like people something like the model Claude itself, like people don't know stuff like Sonnet 4.5 even exists.
Love Claude.
However, yeah, absolutely. But like I would definitely say like just having that as a learning guide, asking me guiding questions has been one of the greatest learning experiences that I've had. Bar none. Like I've obviously had experience in traditional university in a great high school that we all went to, and obviously online as well. And I would say that my greatest teacher that I've had to this day, as crazy as it sounds, is AI. And having that personal tutor that understands how I learn, understands how I work and how I like to set goals, and then kind of transposing that to people watching this, the viewers who are watching this, recognizing that you can have this futuristic tutor who knows you inside and out, who knows how you learn, and you can use this to learn whatever you would like. I think it's only going to get better. I think the educational capacity is only going to increase. We're only going to see this continue to be used in schools. I think schooling itself, education itself is in for not really a rude awakening, not necessarily, but it's in for a dramatic transformation when, let's say, you can upload lesson plans, you can upload work assignments and get direct transcriptions on how to actually complete them effectively. I would say that obviously people are using it, misusing it, I would say, to write assignments.
Mhm.
However, I would bring light to the fact that this is one of the greatest ways to summate a task and then have actionable advice on how to practically execute on that. I think the personal assistant aspect is something I'd like to bring a lot of light to, and a personal manager aspect as well. AI has kind of helped me kind of stay on track of my own kind of life and my own studies, my own learning. I think it was a big reason as to why I was able to accelerate my degree, having concepts broken down and explained to me, having the ability to ask many sorts of questions. Also, the fact that like I wasn't ever one to kind of ask many questions to schools in school or anything. I wasn't very engaged. However, I think having the kind of private aspect to that, having the ability to one-on-one interact with that has really brought a huge element into my own personal learning, has brought the ability to ask as many sort of questions, and it's also brought, hours of studying. I can go on for, from 1 to 10, obviously within model usage limits. I can't do that at school. I think it's going to be something that is going to definitely transform, like, its knowledge now is comparable, let's say, to a PhD, and that's a professor. Like, that is going to radically transform, I think, education itself. And I want to make my platform a place where people can learn, obviously, and learn how to learn as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that thing. That statement you made about companionship in a way and how you can use it for so much more than you really know before you try it. Like if I asked ChatGPT right now, like describe me in 3 sentences, I did the other day actually, and it was like shockingly accurate. It just shows you like if you're willing to put in the work towards like this sounds weird because it's not a person, but developing a relationship with AI in a way that you can use it most effectively for your goals, it will dramatically transform how you go about everything.
And of course, relationship wise, I think an interesting topic that I'd like to bring up is actually AI companionship itself. And obviously, newer providers like XAI and Grok have kind of tried to market themselves in a way where people are developing relationships with AI. I'd like to bring up Ani. I'd like to bring up, I believe, Maven is her name. The fact that people are developing these kind of parasocial relationships with chatbots. They're starting to begin to feel emotions. I would like to bring light to people who have actually kind of progressed themselves in that way, who have chosen to eliminate themselves kind of from the dating pool and to kind of pursue a romantic relationship with AI itself. I think that's such an interesting topic to myself. Like it's almost dystopian. It's almost like in the movie Her, where you have this like almost image of a romantic partner, and people are genuinely proceeding with that. They're interfacing with it as if it was a person, and companies are benefiting from it. Like a big part of XAI is actually kind of making and bringing that companionship aspect, obviously in the form of X companions, and we're having people, develop relationship with bots. I mean, I'm curious to see how that technology is going to play out and how these parasocial relationships will eventually kind of bridge into reality as robotics kind of increase and accelerate. But obviously, that's kind of its own aspect, and it's almost controversial to speak about. Like, you know, people have AI girlfriends. Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, I personally never would do that, but it's crazy because we're like so still in this infancy of this technology and this is already happening. It's just wild to me. Like I'm curious how you guys feel about that same point.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's definitely kind of insane to see like all of this science fiction like literature and media
Mhm.
like come into real life in some extent. And I guess like it just shows like I feel like independent of artificial intelligence, there's kind of like an overwhelming sense of like a looming inauthenticity and kind of like straying away from these human aspects of everyday life. We've been seeing obviously the proliferation of parasocial relationships in terms of content and social media for the past couple of years now, and this I think is kind of just like a natural kind of next evolution of the internet simultaneously connecting people but also isolating people, and for people that have for some reason or another kind of like dejected themselves from the overall dating pool or desire to find companionship or love with another human. I guess this provides these people some type of relief or ability to kind of like ameliorate that isolation and loneliness, but obviously at the same time, as is with any new technology, we're also seeing a lot of people unfortunately abusing artificial intelligence in that respect, kind of tying a lot of their mental health to something that is not obviously a human whatsoever, and we're seeing a lot of negative consequences from that. But I think this kind of just comes along with the broader issue with artificial intelligence in terms of asking the question of how can we properly regulate and legislate such a quickly evolving technology when federal government other world governments have historically kind of had a lot of trouble keeping up to date and actively kind of like urgently passing legislation as new technologies arise. We still kind of don't have the best regulation, at least in the United States, of the internet as a whole, let alone there being any chance that with a new technology like artificial intelligence that grows much faster than anything related to the internet, that it will be difficult to kind of imagine at least the federal government adequately legislating something like that. But there obviously should be more conversations across disciplines, not just within computer science, but also with people within politics about how to best ensure that this technology isn't abused and exploited to people's detriment.
And I would like to touch upon like appropriate legislator, appropriate guardrails, and appropriate, let's say, leadership and kind of maintaining and straying away from a potential technocratic oligarchy to where the owners of this technology have this power or unfounded power. And I think it's very important that we continue to have conversations on the important guardrails on kind of just owning like this technology and facilitating it in different sorts of aspects. One thing I would like to touch upon is AI and its kind of almost understanding of human emotion and how it's going to impact fields such as therapy, such as psychiatry. Um, I personally think that people are going to be turning to AI for self help, for evolutions of themselves, for exploring themselves. And I think it's going to be an interesting use case to kind of follow along with.
I totally agree. And like you said earlier, there's that kind of separation from talking to a person. You almost feel like you're talking to yourself, but at the same time you're not. So you have that freedom to be more open, to be more explorational, to just say what you actually want to say because there's no pressure there really. And I think that's going to really drive a lot of changes in those fields like you talked about, for sure.
And I think appropriate guardrails are more than important to continue to push for. I would like to make an example of the more recent model Grok 4.1 and my own personal usage of it. It has pretty much no guardrails or restrictions in the content that you can actually create with it. And I think it's very important that we have a conversation about these generative models then that have no restriction, that can generate the most abhorrent kind of stories
Give me
in the.
can give me an example. I'm curious of like
Well,
what you've seen
yeah,
that you could, if you could
I
say it on
absolutely will. I absolutely
yeah.
will. I mean, like, just kind of asking 4.1 as soon as it came out, this was around last week, what are your guardrails? And there is no guardrails. Like, let's say if I was going to make, or I wouldn't personally make it, but you could make pornographic content, you could make graphic content,
Really?
visceral, brutal content, and stories
This is
involving
just
real
with
people.
Grok.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't need to experiment with Grok or ask it, you don't need to push
That's
its
crazy.
limits. That's what we're here to do for you guys. But I think it's very important that we continue a discussion on like where is the stopping point? What should AI be able to write about? What shouldn't it be able to write about? And what makes that distinction? What actually just like constitutes creating a limit in terms of what can be discussed and what can't be, because there is kind of an abstraction of the morals that kind of go into that. How do you actually kind of start to discuss or create these moral guardrails that should be in place? Or should there even be moral guardrails in place? Should we allow these models to continue completely uncensored? I know ChatGPT will be releasing an uncensored model in December. And I know that Grok 4.1 is completely uncensored. I know that the Imagine model before October 15th was also completely uncensored as well. But, we're going to go into a world where you're going to have open source uncensored models between now and the near future. What is the type of content that's going to be generated, and how do we genuinely put guardrails on this? And, like, do we stop at, is it should be dead people? Should it be like, do we don't make content of living people or of people themselves? I think Sora had a pretty inspiring way of doing it, where you had to personally upload yourself, and everything else was kind of pre-generated or not a real person. But stuff like Grok, and prior to its guardrails being put in place, the October 15th of October, you could generate anything. And that is a kind of terrifying reality where anyone has the ability to paint any picture. And I think going forward, I think you genuinely have to bring light to all sorts of conversations about that. I think it's very important you don't stray away from what can be generated and what shouldn't be generated, and the benefits of generating, whatever. Like, I think it's really scary that you can just upload a photo of me, you can take a screen cap of this podcast right now and make me blow up or something. Like, I don't understand. Like, where do you put a guardrail there? Where do you even begin to have the moral discussion of the implications of the technology itself?
It is a tricky question, and it definitely extends to kind of potentially even more dangerous and risky use cases. Like, I know we had seen recently that Opus 4.5 had been used by a group of inexperienced coders in order to launch a full scale like type of DDoS attack. I forgot what the specific organization was that they launched it upon, but it was just interesting that with minimal coding knowledge, a group of people were able to fully kind of like guide Claude through allowing them to do all of these different types of like tasks that while any of them in isolation wouldn't necessarily raise any alarm bells, chained together, all of these separate tasks were allowing them to like launch some type of penetration attack on another organization. And so then it also begs the question like how should we be monitoring people's interactions with all these models, and how can we truly ensure that people aren't using these models for nefarious reasons? Because now we're kind of asked the question of like, how do we discern what is legitimate and genuine and real versus what is created by these models and kind of just indiscernible from real life? It begs a very upsetting and disconcerting type of conversation that we're going to have in the future, that we need to have, about how to regulate all of these technologies.
And a big kind of development recently with Gemini 3.0 and Nano Banana Pro, their new image model, I have seen some fascinating images. I've seen some images kind of indiscernible from reality, as you've said. I think keeping people informed on tail marks of AI generated kind of imagery and visuals is extremely important. I think that you can easily fool or gullible people with AI images, and it's like it's only going to get better. Like, how do you discern from, I love this hypothetical scenario that I've seen kind of played around with, where like, what if someone in court, generates a video of me shooting someone and then it's used as actual evidence? I don't think we're just there yet, but that's something that's going to kind of come to fruition. And I think that continuing conversations, and obviously we're asking so many questions here, and obviously we're students, we're ambitious, and we're curious people. I think that these questions are the heart of this newsletter, and obviously us ourselves may not have the answers to everything. And I think having the questions themselves and being able to ask them to people at the frontier of this technology, that is going to be the goal and the heart of this newsletter. As I think rational discussion needs to continue to be had between all sides and all aspects. And I think that we're only going to continue to progress ourselves with these fascinating kind of interviews and questionings from people that have actual, let's say, firsthand experience with how this technology is shaping the world.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, like, definitely very excited for a lot of interesting interviews to come. Um, we're definitely trying to like promote and market more on our own individual campuses, and hopefully try to get some of our professors on to speak about some of these topics. But more importantly, some startup founders and some people within the industry of artificial intelligence, within business, within finance, that can talk to their firsthand experience, like you were saying. So a lot of exciting stuff to come in the future for sure.
We seek to cover all aspects of this as well. And our skill sets are uniquely kind of tailored to that, where I can bring the kind of business aspect, using it in my own personal businesses, how I've kind of been able to leverage it successfully, how I've honestly, I'll give some anecdotal experience now that, like, when I was building my business, a lot of it was kind of parlayed through AI, where I had asked it, is this a strategic move? Is this an optimal use of my resources? And giving it contextual knowledge and also actually genuinely helping me with client relationships, especially obviously that now I run my business by myself. I think that a business aspect to this, and obviously since I've negotiated, I've closed deals, I think that I could bring that kind of business aspect. And we also, as well, between us three, we have an economical, a mathematical as well. Pierce, if you'd like to go on about your mathematical kind of knowledge, and as well a financial perspective. As Joey has had internships in New York. Joey has actual firsthand experience working in these kind of capital markets, and obviously the one of the most attractive job opportunities in the world in terms of finance. And if you guys would kind of like to share more about that as well.
Yeah, I guess that would be an interesting natural segue into a next part of our conversation. I guess, Joey, what were some of the more interesting like market reports you had done, and what were some of the direct impacts you had seen in your internship this past summer of AI on your daily workflow? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. Like the second day of the internship, I remember my boss went up to me and all the other interns and he said, by the doesn't have to be right now, but I want you guys to do a presentation on how you would integrate AI into this team by the end of the internship. We were for a second, it was, like, kinda weird. We were like, Why is he asking us this? Like, can't he just, like, figure it out himself?"
Yeah.
But then we got thinking, like, we're the tech-savvy generation. We're the ones who grew up with all this change. We're the ones who have experienced it firsthand more so than any other generation alive right now. And seeing someone that really values that perspective really changed my mind and let me know that we are going to be the people that determine how this is used, how it's regulated, what its implications are, the moral questions, everything Leo was talking about. It's up to us. It's up to us in the end. And that really kind of confirmed that whole experience.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Like, I mean, that is really like that's also definitely super empowering though. Like that is
Mhm.
the thing. Like we are kind of like at the forefront of this new like cutting edge of society. And that's why it's extremely important and even more necessary that we make it our responsibility as a generation, as young people entering into the workforce, entering into our adult lives, that we stay as up to date as possible so we are able to make those informed decisions and provide our opinions when asked, like you had been asked on the internship, how to inform older people who might not be necessarily as socialized or familiar with integrating these technologies into their daily lives. What are the best practices, what should we avoid, and how to best implement these technologies into our daily lives.
I think Socratic discussions on this are paramount. And obviously, it's a fascinating experience that you've shared with us that you yourself were asked. And I'm
Mhm.
certain that they took genuine advice from you. But, like, I'd like to also highlight the fact that every company has to have those discussions, that
Mhm.
it's a global phenomenon, it's a worldwide phenomenon. And it's going to be kind of up to us as the generation that is the most directly impacted in our careers, in our jobs, in our schooling, in our lives with AI to continue and to progress those conversations. I think a big perspective and a big thing that I'd like to highlight is again the all aspects kind of aspect where tech, business, finance, and as well the mathematics going behind into it. I'd like to give Pierce an opportunity to kind of share his mathematical knowledge kind of going into this and that background that you've had to where like obviously neural networks require lots of math and that's inaccessible to a large portion of people who either don't have the quantitative skills required to comprehend the kind of aspects or tasks that are kind of done there or like how do we bridge that gap? How do we kind of ensure that obviously you don't need a complete math background to understand AI works the way it does, but how do we bridge and get you closer to understanding how LLMs actually compute and calculate and actually perform their actions?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I mean, as I had stated previously, I've had lifelong experience in coding, programming, computer science, as well as an interest, at least for the past 10 years, in artificial intelligence, starting with my science fair project on neural networks back in middle school. But I think another interesting upcoming branch of content from tech and business is going to be a plan to produce educational content. And so, given the fact that, especially in college, I mean, I've taken many 400 level classes relating to like the deep theoretical and technical like intricacies of the math of artificial intelligence and the math of theoretical statistics. For example, right now I'm taking a class at a graduate level called Advanced Econometrics, and the whole class is about theoretical statistics and the theoretical statistics behind economics, and then similarly, how that also ties into how prediction has developed across machine learning and artificial intelligence. And I would definitely seek to try to illuminate with only the most pressing and important topics in a very accessible way how some of this math works so that we can kind of remove a lot of that gatekeeping that I was referring to within academia. Because the truth is, a lot of the money that academia makes is based on the consumer, people willing to try to apply to college and pay for that tuition, their belief that they need college and they need this conventional pathway in order to understand these very complex and difficult topics. But the truth is that that's simply not the case. And I believe that with a full-fledged effort to provide educational content in the future, I can definitely try my best to share all of the valuable information through the theoretical foundations of computer science class, through the AI class that I've taken, through multiple projects that I've made, through my advanced econometrics class. My goal would be to share a lot of the valuable information I've learned at one of the most prestigious colleges in the country, the number one, often swaps out with Williams every year, sometimes number two, but number one or two liberal arts college out of 500 in all of the United States of America, consistently ranked amongst the top 50 colleges in the world, Amherst College. So my goal, as I had said, would be to try to distill only the most important and accessible and relevant information from those classes so that you yourself can also have some type of better understanding of the actual technical details of how these large language models encode all of this verbal written information into numbers and interpret it, all of the complex math that shouldn't be so gatekept and kind of veiled in this guise of difficulty so that the people who do have the information can continue to make profit off the people who don't. The goal would be to try to bridge that gap between this transformation and all of the misinformation out there.
I think one of the largest goals that we have is the complete removal of gatekeeping when it comes to this. You should not have to pay for any source. You should not have to pay for any sort of media outlet to give you information that should be open source and public. Everything regarding AI should be completely open, free, public, and that is our goal through our platform to provide those kind of free experiences, to provide the free education that can help anyone, that can help everyone pretty much. Um there will be no barriers to entry. There will be no courses that we sell. There will be no, let's say, bullshit kind of course selling or peddling. Like you see people like even like Klaus Schwab opening up academies and online courses. I think that there should be no sort of paying required to get the frontier of this knowledge itself. I think that continuing this as a nonprofit is paramount to all sorts of our goal. And I would say that like we want to become a leader in the educational aspect of this, that I feel like there's no one real resource where from start to finish you can understand this technology itself. And obviously tech and business is tech and business. It's not tech and AI. It's just tech and business. And AI being a large and crucial aspect of that, of course, we're going to obviously increase our educational aspects and through reels, through all three of us being individual anchors and playing to our own strengths, kind of going into our own kind of contents. I think there's a lot more to come, a lot more exciting things to come. And I will say that obviously between Pierce's complete, like impressive artificial intelligence background, I think we have the education required to be the ones that carry this mission out. And we're going to be doing a lot of firing and missing and then shooting again and hitting the target, which is a lot of what we did in the beginning, where we didn't understand fully the vision that we had to do. We didn't understand tech and business and its meaning and its intrinsic meaning and what we could bring to it. Now there's a lot more clarity. Now there's a lot more. This is what I'll do. This is what he'll do. And I think that's going to only make itself apparent as we continue to grow and we continue to evolve and we continue to play to our own strengths. And I'm very excited to carry this out. Genuinely. I think everybody watching has already gotten at least some sort of takeaway from the discussions that we've been having, and we still have a good amount of time left. So I'm really excited to continue
Mhm.
and continue these discussions. I will say, obviously, as the founder, that there is a good amount of pressure. I think navigating through that pressure and obviously the emotional kind of strength required and willpower is something that I possess, and I would like to kind of give lessons on that as well. I would like to personally in my own content, and I'm going to be making a lot of business content, and I want younger founders, newer founders, from all walks and aspects of life to be empowered. I think empowerment is a large theme that we're going to be touching upon. I think that with my own experience, knowledge, and ability to teach, that I will be teaching all sorts of aspects of business. Obviously sales, like how to negotiate and close your first couple deals. That's kind of going to be the roadmap for my own content. I think that I will also bring on my coach and mentor Diego Barrera to speak on business itself, and I have a good amount of connections through my network on business, and I want to bring business people and bring their perspectives on just business itself, and obviously business being integrative tech and obviously AI. We're at the precipice of a lot of evolution, and navigating that is going to be our goal. And we will make sure that stuff is clear and it gets clearer and it continues to become clearer. And I'd like for you guys to kind of go over what you intend on progressing and your kind of roadmap for evolving your own role and evolving your own sort of content with this kind of field.
Yeah, I totally agree when you said this is something that should be fully accessible. It shouldn't be closed off to just a select few who have whatever it takes to access that technology and learn how to use it effectively. What I want to do is kind of similar to what you said. I just want to bridge that gap. I want to show how I use it, show how it's transformed my personal life every single day, and just give practical tips to do so.
Yeah, definitely. And as I was saying, alongside the seasonal releases, obviously that we'll continue to be having quarterly, um, starting at the end of this year, at the end of winter. Um, Definitely really excited to continue with a lot of hard hitting, interesting interviews with prestigious and experienced people at the forefront of all three of those fields, as well as a lot of that really interesting and valuable educational content that will be coming your way as well in the next couple weeks.
I'm very excited to see how this continues to grow. And obviously, expansion of this team itself is something that I keep in mind. I understand that for such a large goal, I think we're going to require a large amount of manpower and people. And I look forward to introducing more sorts of guests and characters for all of you guys to learn from. We already have a couple interviews lined up for the future and going pretty deep on the topics that we want to go into. Um, we'll have a lot to come. And obviously, as tech and business grows into itself as a media brand, we want to grow our voices and we want to grow our platform and we want to ensure that people understand what we're talking about. And I think that such an opportunity is very dear to myself, where I am the one directing, and obviously I'm responsible for infrastructure and design. I'm actually developing the new website as well. I think having that opportunity present to myself is very, very, like, humbling, I'll say. It's, obviously, there's a huge scope, and there's a lot to get to. There's a lot more discussion to be had and a lot deeper discussion to be had. And I want tech and business to be a place where, an average person can just turn this podcast on and already be kind of updated on the newest kind of developments and understand how they themselves can navigate with how everything has been kind of going on.
Mhm. Yeah, for me, this is huge because this actually gives me a platform to share what I feel, what I think, what I know about all these industries and how they intersect. Because I was just known like as the guy who writes on LinkedIn way too much in the past, who has all these opinions about things, but never really had a place to go out there and really share them fully and be completely open. So that's what I hope to bring to this team here.
And obviously building upon a Joey, I think that this is something applicable to many different people.
Mhm.
I think that we will have people across the nation working on this, and obviously, I make that offer open to anyone listening now. If you're willing to have your voice be heard, if you want to share something, some sort of info, knowledge, tip, advice, then we'll make that platform open to you. I think keeping things open and accessible is paramount to the goal itself, and I think that like continuing with the podcast and everything, and as we grow and as we evolve and as we continue to get better with what we speak about, I think there's only going to be more stuff to look forward to, and a growing kind of scope of brands that we're going to be touching upon and hopefully connecting with and networking with and bringing straight directly to you guys. So for your own learning pleasures. There's a lot to go over as well, obviously, that we have available to us, and we're gonna continue to kinda go through with those. We're gonna follow through with our goal.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, like, certainly stay tuned. There's going to be a really big release, as I just mentioned, this winter. A lot of interesting, more effort going into a lot more research rather than what you may have seen in the past with the weekly releases. In moving to more of this like editorial style quarterly format, I think that we're just going to be able to raise the quality of our writing by that much more and be able to put so much more preparation into the quality of the articles that we'll be putting out there. And so definitely stay tuned.
Could we pause? Alright. Let me go use the bathroom. I think we're starting to repeat ourselves, so let's just kinda, like, get some talking points for the
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So try to use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And like, this is how I structure my podcast. So when you guys are speaking, I'm actually playing. You know what? No, I'll let it run.
Yeah.
Where is it? So, like a question you guys could answer is, what fear did you have to overcome to build this company? So try to get those introspective questions. You guys ask those questions.
Yeah, perfect. So
Yeah, I guess maybe we can touch a little bit more on like the hiatus and like
Yeah. What changed?
and now like how we're committed to being more consistent and stuff.
Also, probably emphasis that the podcast is going to be a bigger part of it going forward
Yeah.
as well, not
Yeah.
just the writing itself.
Yeah, we had tried a little bit to like emphasize that more like in the first 40 minutes, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's hard to talk for 2 hours, man.
Bro,
It's
it
crazy.
is tough, low key. I think we've been doing a good job though.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
like
think there
there's certain
is
times
like
I kind of I don't know. This is a little awkward my first time, but like
no, no, I totally get that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
me
just
and
like
Leo had already done this once,
yeah.
like literally right over there for
Mhm.
the first one. So
Like I'm in a it's so
but you're
sick
doing a
though in
good
a
job.
studio in the city, just like
Yeah,
speaking my mind. That's
bro.
like you got to appreciate those
Like
moments.
it feels like fucking significant, like
It does.
important, like
Mhm.
but how have you been today? What you been up to?
Not too bad. Just chilling earlier. Got ready to come here. Took the train over. It was pretty easy. Got some pizza before I came here, so yeah.
Huge, huge,
Uh-huh.
huge.
City pizza is always the best.
Oh my god, bro.
Yeah. I guess we could take the same train back, right?
Yeah.
Are you
yeah,
are you taking the one? Are you getting off White? You're getting off White Plains, so
Yeah,
And then
yeah, and
does
then
Leo get
just
off there too?
left
Or?
it. Yeah, he drove up to me, and then we took
Okay.
the train together.
Yeah.
So he left his car there.
Yeah, I parked in Katona, so let's go back there. I actually grabbed my water. I bought one earlier.
Oh shit, we should have told you. Yeah, he has like waters too.
This is cool.
Yeah, no, it is fucking sick. Okay.
So Joey, what do you think we should talk about? Like, continuing?
So like, how much did you talk about like coming back from the hiatus and all that? Like already?
Just like I wanted to, like I think touching upon that briefly is just like, oh, we had work and school going
Yeah,
on.
I don't think we need to talk about that again if you already did.
What other topics do you have in mind? Because like I think what's happening is like we didn't prepare as many talking points as we should have. So like
Yeah, 2 hours is a lot, bro. That's
Yeah.
what I was saying.
I actually think that like I think that's actually really big. That now that we have that wisdom now, 'cause,
Mhm.
like, Pierce and I in the first 30 minutes we started to again repeat ourselves. So I think we're probably gonna have to edit this down a little bit, and
Mhm.
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
That is fine. Yeah, we. I feel like I have low key repeated myself.
No,
I think
it's-
even I did once or twice. Like we
No,
all did.
I've
so.
literally been like, oh, this is our goals, paramount, all aspects. Like I've been
Yeah.
saying that shit like over and over again.
Yeah.
So let's actually get some topics to talk about, and we'll go back into this a lot stronger. But so far, guys, we actually have been doing good. Like,
No,
Yeah.
honestly, like I think there are a lot of like promos in there that are like going to hype people up.
yeah.
Mhm.
Look up some stuff, bro. Like, what do you want to talk about?
Should we go back to the? I feel like the most original part of it was like the bubble talk. I feel like that's what we
Yeah,
got-
the thing
we
is
gotta
that
flow
that's
on.
the one like topic we have.
Yeah. What if we did
Okay. Agent AI. Oh, we have to talk about AI agents. And middle management. That's number one. I think we can replace like managerial kind of aspects. Startups, venture capital, Apple's slow adoption, Siri,
Oh yeah,
um,
honestly.
TikTok ban.
Yeah, because that might signal like that they know that some of the speculation is unfounded. If if you observe like the market movers like
Tesla Optimus.
Apple's hesitancy to like move towards AI kind of indicates that they know something that like the average person doesn't.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. What about you, Joey? What do you want to bring?
So that was the AI agents, right? That talk. Dude, I'm like blanking. I don't even know.
Look some stuff up. Like
Yeah.
we have time now. So
Actually, I wanted to talk about this earlier, and then I didn't get the chance. The whole with NVIDIA, the new Google chips, and what that's
Okay.
doing. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Jen L, how about like college and its kind of like descent? I literally got 100 topics here from Grok.
Okay.
We should talk about crypto, stable coins, Bitcoin falling. Let's just get these ideas, and I think organically, because we have them in our
Yeah.
minds now, it's gonna come through.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if anything, if we do another 2-hour podcast, let's have a break built into it.
Yeah.
Because we started early, Pierce. We still have 45 minutes left, and look, it's 1 hour 30, so we're actually ahead of pace. Because remember, we started 7 minutes early,
Oh yeah.
so we actually have time. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm honestly thinking that like just take like a couple more minutes to just look stuff up, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Also, I think
Pierce.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen up. You guys are way too stiff.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Remember, energy is transference. There's
Yeah.
transference and energy, and that includes podcasters. So if you guys are just,
yeah.
it comes off. I have ADD. I'm also on the spectrum. So I have I have been clocking in and out the entire time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like really focus on what you guys are saying because it is good information, but it's just the way you
Delivery,
bring it
yeah.
across, the delivery.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's like it's not the messenger, it's the message.
Yeah.
But in this one, it is the message.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know? The message is fantastic.
I
Because I use
appreciate it.
AI. I'm in med school. I use AI in med school.
Mhm.
Like I use AI for my podcast. I use AI
Beautiful.
for everything I do. So what you guys are saying will resonate and do really well. You just gotta
Make sure it's delivered
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
right
deliver
way.
the message.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm telling you, come in onesies next time.
Yeah, honestly, that would be
Come in
really cool.
onesies, like no shoes on, and just talk about AI and business. It will
Yeah.
throw people off.
That'd be wild.
That
I would do that though.
That would be
It will,
really
like, throw
cool.
people
Yeah.
off.
I-
Yeah.
But listen,
I feel like I think getting ahead of ourselves with like I think we set this out as such a grand kind of like this is what we're doing. It's like a mission statement, more of like a statement piece. And I think we were leaning too far into that instead of letting our conversation organically flow like it did last time. Because last time we kind of didn't have that issue where we ran out of talking points.
Yeah.
Last time we actually had too much to talk about. We actually ran out of time. But like
Mhm.
now that we're here, sitting here, and like I think we're a little too stiff, a little too rigid.
Yeah.
Like let me re-up real quick. I don't know how much of this I'll edit out. I think I'll do some editing just to kind of cut out some of the repetition. Because I think it's like what we have at our base and at our core.
put Mike in because this might be something you want to use as well.
Absolutely. I think I'll do this behind the scenes. You know, we take breaks on the podcast, guys. I think that like just continuing to get better at this is just loosening up and like just letting it flow a little more. I think that like we've been too serious, and like we want to make ourselves come off as informed, so it doesn't come off as as entertaining as it should. I think. Because I think we're all like entertaining people. It's just like we gotta start
You
channeling.
just gotta let it out. Yeah.
So start channeling.
What is that right there?
This is a fake Zen.
Fake?
Yeah.
Can I try one?
Is this you guys' second recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like we're still
Yeah.
pretty new to this.
First time as well, so
It's
Just
fine,
walked in,
like,
yeah.
once
Oh,
you,
sorry.
like,
Yeah, you're good.
if you're still like this at episode 10,
Then
you
it's
need to
like-
reflect.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But like if this is just 2,
Mm-hmm. No, if anything,
you guys were still pretty
we're fine.
like figure it out, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the opening half was really good. I think we just lost steam like after the AI bubble conversation, because I think we just should have had more talking points. Because like we're trying to have talking points,
Yeah.
and like it's just like because we don't have those talking points, we're just repeating again. We're just like
yeah.
blah blah blah. So so before we restart, I honestly think part of this talk is going to be in the final release where we actually ran into a wall. But what do you guys want to talk about?
I'll start off. It's really interesting with NVIDIA right now because of the new Google TPUs. I forgot what the T stands for, something processing unit, obviously, but they're made to handle AI workloads more so than like any other chip we've seen on the market right now. And something really interesting is there's this one hedge fund I followed called Co2 Management, ran by this guy named Philippe Lafont. I had the privilege of hearing him speak last summer, actually, at UBS during the internship. He did like a chat. A bunch of the teams went there. My team went there. Listen to him speak a little bit about kind of his whole thoughts on the AI market and all of this. And he developed this list called the Co2 Fantastic 40, which he believes will be like the 40 largest companies in the world by 2030. And this includes public companies currently, privately held ones such as Databricks and OpenAI, who are anticipating an IPO. It's pretty variable. Also, crypto is in there too. It was this whole thing that was really interesting to me. But originally, Google was not on that list, which was something that was really kind of off-putting in a way. I did not expect that. But with these new chips, it is on the list, which is something that really catches my eye because he is one of the most successful tech investors of the past 15 to 20 years or so. Like he was buying NVIDIA for his fund when it was $13 a share. Like he knows what he's doing, man. So because of that move alone, it has me really interested in this whole TPU versus GPU conversation, basically. And I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah. I mean, I know that like with the recent development of those chips, Google does have an absolute vertical integration in AI from the chip production to like the data centers to the manpower and experience within AI for the past 15 or so years. they're one of the few companies at the top that has a full vertical integration,
Hmm.
and that definitely will be something that plays into their advantage in the next 5, 10 years as some of the pretenders at the top of the field, some of the companies that might be prominent right now kind of taper off. I think that'll prove to give Google a lot more staying power to stick at the top of the AI industry and tech industry as a whole.
I think the race is fascinating because you have
Mhm.
all these major players, major companies all vying to be the first. And obviously, you see something like Google, as you stated, full vertical integration. I think we're only going to see specialization become what kind of differentiates the companies from each other. I think you look at Anthropic and their focus on code, their focus on software engineering, and they're pulling ahead. Opus 4.5 literally uses less context, less tokens than previous Opus 4.1 and Sonic 4.5. And I think that I think specialization is the biggest thing kind of going into this. Google is attempting to create this multimodal LLM where it does everything. I think they're the only company kind of fit to doing that. I think GPT, OpenAI, with their kind of the beginners of this kind of GPT technology, they're the ones who kind of started proliferating it. But what is their distinctive advantage that they kind of hold or possess over something like Google? I think that they're going to start to. I think my prediction is personally, I think they're going to start to kind of fall behind.
Hmm.
I think you're going to see stuff like Anthropic do very well. I think Claude is only going to continue to niche down into code. I think Gemini is going to probably pull out the forefront with the world's largest data set. Google, YouTube, everything that Google has, a conglomerate, a mega conglomerate. I think we're going to see multimodal Gemini just pull ahead over something like GPT 5.0, maybe a potential 6.0. I think obviously it's very difficult to call it. And this month we had 4 separate state of the art model releases. But I think Google is in the position now and has the proper resources and can hedge themselves to continue. I think they'll do just fine. I think Google will pull ahead in this race, and I'm placing my bets on them. Obviously, we'll see companies be pragmatic and adapt themselves to where they're best fit. But I think Google and Gemini will probably pull ahead. Starting off with stuff like Bard. Google started off with Bard. Now they're on Gemini. 2.5, 3.0 was a huge step up. I think 3.5 or 4.0 when they do come out is only going to continue to get better. So, is there any thoughts that you guys kind of have on the AI race? Like any forerunners?
Yeah, I do. I really do think Anthropic, because of their capabilities they've expanded to with the whole coding sphere, is going to give them a huge advantage over some other private companies currently. Just because, like, even using Claude, just I have never coded like a day in my life. I learned R for like one class my sophomore year, and then I was like, okay, I don't really think this is for me. I was just playing around with Claude, and I actually posted this online once I did it because I thought it was so cool. I was able to make this like hedge fund tracking app in like literally a half hour. And it looked like pretty professional. It was accurate information. And that was like the most mind blowing AI experience I've personally had. And it really like got me thinking about not just Claude, but Anthropic as a whole, what they are truly doing and how that could progress so far going forward.
They currently have the largest training set until early 2026, like the largest data center alongside Amazon. So that is a massive advantage.
Hmm.
Obviously we're going to see stuff like X Colossus and with Project Genesis more kind of gigantic, super centers being opened. I think that it's going to be very interesting, and I think the environmental impact is going to be something that we want to kind of highlight because obviously these have direct impacts on water, on pollution, on environments around them, on communities around them. Like, where do you put stop limits? Where does where does the negative outweigh the positive? And I personally think for right now that it's going to only help us solve an issue like climate change. Obviously, that's a huge claim to be making that, obviously climate change is a grand issue that we're facing. But I personally think that the current trade-off and the utilitarian nature of AI is kind of worth the drawback of the of current proceedings of the environment.
I mean, I think that's a little bit of a difficult kind of there's so much uncertainty within that statement. Like, I feel like that's kind of the same trap that a lot of the founders fall into, where like the people like Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Jensen Huang, they all kind of like hide behind that justification that like the unobserved but expected benefits of this technology to come will outweigh the short-term implications. I mean, we had seen it is kind of hard to ignore. We had seen, like, back in Tennessee, I believe a couple months ago, um, Elon Musk and, XAI, they had created a large data center in Tennessee, and it had directly kind of negatively impacted the air quality and the water quality of that specific town, and it is kind of hard to ignore all of these direct negative implications on the local environments in all of the areas in which these data centers are being built, or all of the different places across the world that these companies are planning to build data centers. I mean,
Take Virginia, for example. They're like basically at full capacity already in terms of like the space they have, because that's a pretty big hub for data centers, I
yeah.
know. So it's just, yeah.
And then it's like we don't necessarily 100% know if, like, artificial intelligence will be able to, like, drastically improve our ability to solve these wide-reaching problems previous previously to the introduction of AI. Like, it's kind of difficult and almost like a reflection of, like, our capitalist extractive society, to justify all of this short-term negative, detrimental impact on people's air quality, people's water quality, people's local environments, local ecosystems. I mean, it just kind of seems like another example of kind of like I think of deforestation as a good example. Like we've seen obviously throughout the past couple centuries all of the impacts of colonialism and capitalism and how so many different groups of underprivileged people have been taken advantage of um, so that their resources can be extracted just so that the next big technological development can be propped up. And this is yet again kind of another example of our pursuit of progress and some type of grander societal development kind of taking priority over the immediate physical conditions and environmental conditions of certain people. So it's a difficult trade-off and a difficult kind of like statement to make that you think that artificial intelligence is kind of this like necessary technology and all of this rapid overstated data center production and promotion will be justified given the potential positive benefits of such a technology. But obviously a lot of people kind of disregard all of those genuine negative kind of consequences of such on a never before seen unprecedented growth that we're observing today.
Well, I would say that I kind of disagree with you. I think that the environmental kind of drawbacks that we're facing are only necessary. And I think that this is going to be something that is only going to help us make us more efficient. So I personally say the pros outweigh the cons here. Obviously, we have kind of differing perspectives there. But I'd also like to kind of pose the question, with these environmental kind of aspects, obviously. Do you think AI will ever kind of get to a point where like its environmental impact is minimized? Where like, obviously we're kind of trying to do a sprint towards silicon-based life and obviously with all the stuff that comes with that. But like at what point is it too much? Like at what point would you say this environment we should care more about the environment?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people within artificial intelligence today that have those types of environmental considerations. There's a large growing movement and corpus of literature and papers that have been published promoting kind of the benefits of smaller language models and kind of dispelling this belief that's widely held that like the more data and the more compute power that you have, the better your model will be at reasoning. I feel like a large but passionate and vocal subset, all of these people that are promoting the efficacy and efficiency of these larger language models in comparison to these very environmentally kind of inconsiderate, more conventional and popular practices such as large language models. I think I think there is a lot to be said and a lot to be highlighted about the fact that some of these smaller language models can actually reason better and they aren't as much kind of relying on rote pattern recognition and rote distillation of large amounts of data. They are actually kind of reasoning to a higher extent because they aren't simply just repeating and replicating all these patterns that they see within data. But due to the fact that they have a much larger set of training data, they are kind of forced to develop a lot more of these reasoning strategies that we recognize as familiar when thinking about how humans actually reason. So I think the more that these ethical voices within the forefront of AI research are kind of like pushed and promoted, the more of a reasonable and less inconsiderate outlook as a whole that the AI industry can have on its ethical and environmental implications of such unprecedented growth.
Yeah, and to add on to that too, the whole other part of this conversation is the whole energy talk. These LLMs use so much energy. And a big question right now is what's going to happen to that industry as we're kind of seeing these climate concerns as well, as we're gradually, slowly but gradually transitioning away from fossil fuels for multitude of reasons and towards nuclear energy, towards whatever other source you may think of. It's that intersection is going to really shape, I think, how this industry develops within the next 20 to 30 years as a whole. And what do you guys have to say?
I have to say, obviously, the energy capacity is being an issue. Obviously, with as we've been on the environment. I mean, I don't know. I like to post the controversial opinion that it's kind of worth it. I want to bring some debate into this and say that like, the environmental impact that we've kind of seen is warranted and it's merited for such a transformational technology.
But what if we keep integrating this and we are not able to find an energy source that can substitute? The price of energy is going to be absurd. That I think that's another implication as well. Like, do you also think that's worth it when people are paying like $12,000 a month for their electrical
Oh,
bill?
I'm not
Like
paying
very
12,000
hypothetical. I'm
dollars a
just
month.
saying. I'm
Yeah.
just saying
Well,
hypothetical. But
hypothetically, if we
yeah,
do get to the point where AI is kind of like, or just technology itself is drawing this much energy, I think it's worth it if we are in the pursuit of becoming a Kardashev one type civilization and to where we can more efficiently harvest energy itself. I would like to make a push towards kind of nuclear energy. I
mhm.
would like to make a push towards moving away from traditional kind of power. And I would like to obviously use my platform to voice my opinions and say that I think we should do a move to nuclear energy. I think it should be do have the capacity to more efficiently use energy and more efficiently use the resources that we have at our disposal currently. It's like I think because of legislation, I think because of kind of issues with bureaucracy that we aren't officially harnessing the energy of the earth itself, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, with nuclear energy, that's a huge thing. Obviously, there's companies like Oklo who have been doing pretty well, but are still it's very speculative still. It's still very early on to see how that's gonna sort of integrate itself into the world long term. But I do think that is a good point in that that could be a potential future source for a lot of things.
I think there's an unfounded weight and an unfounded, like, let's say, scared. I think people are too scared of nuclear. I think, a lot of backwards mindsets preventing human progress or where, people are kind of scared to have nuclear power plants. They're scared something like Chernobyl will happen.
Yeah.
They're scared that a meltdown will happen. I think that we have proper guardrails. I think that we have proper preventative measures that can ensure that nuclear can be integrated and incorporated properly and within communities. And I think that it's only going to help our efficiency. And I think that we should look to more efficiently harvest energy. And I think that AI, this is again another hypothetical, once it's capable of reasoning at a much higher level than humans, what if we look into something like artificial strong intelligence that creates these novel kind of ways to actually utilize energy? I would say that that's a future to kind of look forward to, and I think that we should do everything in our ability to kind of progress ourselves to that kind of level and ability.
But what if let me pose like a scenario. What if the growth of AI outpaces the growth of what you were just talking about severely? That could cause a lot of issues, and I think that's kind of happening right now. So, how
Yeah.
how do we address that?
It does seem a little bit hypocritical. I mean, like, simultaneously, you acknowledge that, like, there are such regulatory barriers in implementing things like nuclear energy. And so it seems like in the short term, obviously, these companies are not slowing down in terms of their plans to increase the expansion of their data centers and to open up all of these new initiatives, spend all of this money, consume all of this energy. How do you reconcile the fact that nuclear energy is difficult to implement? We haven't been successful in the past couple of years, yet there is no stopping for this vast and unprecedented expansion. What are we going to do to actually solve in the next 5 to 10 years these increased energy demands and not kind of exacerbate the negative consequences on a lot of these affected groups of people where the data centers are being built?
I would say focusing on efficiency of AI and have making sure that um, AI models themselves are more lightweight and require less energy. I think we've only seen models get smarter and actually become more resourceful, and I think that trend's only going to kind of continue. I think that I myself can't really give you a solution as to where these next 3, 4, 5 years, if AI is going to consume more energy than it's kind of worth producing. But I think at its state currently, a focus on efficiency should be what's kind of what's I think it's going to be the natural progression of ensuring that energy uses or energy needs are not like exacerbated, as you kind of said. I think it's only going to continue to become more efficient, and the math behind it is only going to continue to be optimized. I think we're going to look at AI using a lot less energy. We've seen AI kind of become more resourceful and easier to kind of utilize. So I think that trend's only going to kind of continue as we go along and as intelligence itself becomes cheaper.
I mean, I do think that's a good point because if you just think about like the development of microprocessing and computers in general in the past, like in the 1950s, there would be a computer the size of this room almost, like that has less power than this, like exponentially less than what I'm holding and what I can fit in my pocket now. So I do think potentially that same sort of correlation can happen with AI. I'm skeptical about the timeline is what I'm thinking right now.
And I don't think there is like a direct timeline that can be given on, let's say AI is going to use this amount of power, this amount of consumption. I think, although obviously, I think the only real rational kind of predictions that can be made is if you have internal knowledge of how these companies are actually progressing. Obviously, these companies aren't showing everything to the external world. There's still internal progressions that have yet to be made light of. However, I think that on the trajectory that we're currently on, I think it's only going to continue to become more optimized and more efficient.
Mhm. The other thing too that makes me a little more optimistic about AI is the government involvement we're seeing. I feel like you when you buy what governments are buying, it's usually a good investment. Like I feel like that's a pretty commonplace rule. And for that reason, I'm a little more optimistic. It was interesting seeing, for example, like the Trump administration take a stake in Intel and like also the government providing up in Syracuse right now. I don't know if you guys know about Micron coming back there. It's a huge thing. The government gave them like a several $billion subsidy to come back and build factories in Syracuse to kind of improve the infrastructure of the whole city. Um, it just shows you the government is heavily involved in this as well, which is another kind of layer to the whole situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like as is with any like new technology, as we've spoken about a little bit in the past, like the more the government is aware of like the private sector research and able to like intellectually and like meaningfully kind of directly observe some of the the daily like ongoing routines in terms of production of a lot of these companies, the better an idea they have in order to like properly legislate, subsidize, and encourage US dominance within technology and everything. Because that obviously is another very compelling question. Like there's a lot that we don't know about Chinese development of artificial intelligence and a lot of different companies over in China, and ensuring that similar to the Chinese government, our government is encouraging and subsidizing as much domestic development of artificial intelligence and technology as possible. That will be important to maintaining dominance or gaining back dominance within artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. And I think a big focus that I'd like to kind of place on these Chinese models is the big emphasis on being open source. I think that's only going to continue to be an advantage for them. And also, it also kind of allows us American consumers to have a little more access into the inner workings of these models themselves. Like you see Quen, you see DeepSeek. Um, kind of these open source models be used in internal applications for all sorts of kind of apps. And I think that open source is kind of the future of AI. I think that closed source models are going to like, I don't know if they're going to fall out of favor because the closed source models will likely be the strongest ones, but I think open source models for builders, for like founders, for entrepreneurs, I think having that open source capability is going to be very useful.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, back in my industrial organization class, we had actually spoken a lot about how IBM they pivoted away from the ThinkPad and they had sold off the ThinkPad to Lenovo and instead opted to kind of push more towards data centers, enterprise solutions, and open source cloud computing. And so back in the early 2010s, after the failure of IBM Watson and stuff like that, they had deemed, all right, let's kind of disintegrate away from hardware and instead into some company named Red Hat, actually, which has been working on developing enterprise solutions and cloud computing with Linux, actually, ever since the release of Linux in about like 1998, 1999. And so they had seen kind of IBM had seen at the turn of the 2010s kind of the value and the immense power that goes into using and taking advantage of an open source model because essentially like to a company like IBM, they can see something like Linux, something like cloud computing and enterprise solutions as an opportunity to capitalize off essentially free labor from other people. And and that is huge in terms of them staying technologically up to date, having so many contributors, having so many people cross verifying all of the new features that they push. It kind of signaled even then a wider overarching technological trend towards open source technology and open source programming because that is essentially a huge differentiation and competitive advantage for the companies that do take advantage of these open source technologies because they're just able, especially in something like AI, which we've established is moving and progressing so quickly. Um, Being able to take advantage of those open source technologies will certainly give these companies legs up.
That's amazing, Pierce. That's so amazing. That's so amazing, Pierce. These AI companies that like that's such an amazing advantage to have being open source. What a beautiful addition you've added to this podcast. How amazing is that? That AI is open source. How amazing is that, Pierce?
Well, there's a lot of like economic analysis around network effects and the fact that rather than just the value, like the direct value of the expertise and managers and employees that they had acquired from Red Hat, just the fact that they now have more ownership and authority over such an open source technology and language, such as Linux, gave them even more added network
Okay, but do
externalities.
you use Linux? You don't use Linux.
No, I actually have used Linux.
But you don't use Linux.
I don't think
day
I've
to day.
ever met someone that's used Linux.
I mean, I've used
The
Linux too,
important
but like,
thing
like
is that these companies who use Linux are able to do more interesting things and sell them as a service to these companies
Okay,
for
fair enough.
value. We don't necessarily ourselves have to know how to use these open source technologies, but the fact that they are open source and popular enough to have contributors communicates enough value to these larger companies to acquire companies that interact with those technologies.
all right, but I don't care.
Well, the thing is, like, if we're trying to have an objective analysis of the competitive landscape of artificial intelligence, this is a pretty important kind of feature of their strategy to gain dominance and market power.
Okay, but I don't use open source modeling. Why should I? Why should I try that?
Understanding its value and importance will give you a better idea of some of these companies' broader long-term plans and predictive capabilities of where the AI landscape will be in 5, 10 years. That's the importance, even if you don't necessarily individually interact with such a technology.
So if I wanted to kind of try this for myself, what would you recommend?
I mean, there are a lot of people, like super technical people who use something like Linux, who use something like cloud computing. And I mean, I guess just understanding previous like strategic moves that some of these companies have made, like for example, what I brought up with IBM acquiring Red Hat,
Mhm.
just understanding the importance and value that these companies
That's so
please ignore,
important and
please
valuable,
ignore,
Pierce.
please ignore my unprofessional
He's gone off
co-host
the
here.
rails.
He's
I
gone
don't
off
know
the
why.
rails.
I don't get it.
It's time and time again he can't take anything seriously. But essentially, um, something like understanding the importance of IBM's acquisition of Red Hat and and similar like acquisitions in the past.
You called me a
can give you-
narcissist Machiavellian. What's wrong with you, Pierce?
and I stand by those words that I had said in the last episode.
I don't understand. I literally paid a podcast for you, and you called me a narcissistic, manipulative sociopath. You think I'm gonna let that slide, bro?
You see
I mean-
people
I
as
mean, like-
assets.
No, but what are you gonna do though?
Well, I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm gonna call him out on it because this is my podcast. Why would you call me that?
Because it's true.
I don't think it's true at all. I think I view people, as assets, as they should be.
You have a track
Wait,
record.
wait, you said you view people as assets as they
Yes,
should.
as useful, valuable assets
Oh, okay.
that could help me out. I think that's the perfect way to view people.
Because you see people as only the value that they can provide to you and never the value that you can provide to them or their value outside of what they can provide to you.
Okay, but is there an issue with that? Because I think that's pragmatic.
Pragmatic. I mean, maybe from like a business perspective, but from a moral and ethical perspective, no.
Well, why should I consider a moral and ethical perspective if I can?
Because it's important.
Well, obviously it's important to human capacity, but if I can make more profit not considering
Can I
that,
ask you a question?
absolutely ask me a question, Pierce.
Whenever you go to sleep at night, do you feel content and happy with your life choices? And
I feel
actions and
fucking
the way you
amazing.
treat people?
I feel fucking amazing about how I treat people.
Well, you heard it here, folks. All of the legitimacy of this podcast has been evaporated before our eyes. And any credibility or real genuine compassion was all performative from Leo Duarte during this podcast. And that is a guarantee.
I guarantee. Tech and business is only going to continue to evolve and to become what it's meant to be. When they ask me, Leo, are you going to do the podcast? Yes, obviously I'm going to do the fucking podcast. Leo, are you going to let this podcast fail? Bitch, I'd rather die! I'd rather die than let this podcast fail! I put this shit on my back and my shoulders. I want to make sure this shit is seen till the fucking end. And I promise you guys, there's only going to be more fucking podcasts. There's only going to be more episodes. And I promise you, there's only going to be more electrifying fucking episodes. And we're going to ensure that we get to the bottom of everything. And I understand, Pierce calling me a fucking narcissistic Machiavellian. I don't know what's wrong with you. I think you're stupid for that. I think that's disgusting. And I'm so disappointed in you for ever trying to have a discussion that I paid for and you try to make me look like a fucking idiot in front of everyone.
I mean, honestly, like your actions speak for themselves. Your track record through this conversation of multiple of the ethical conversations and questions that we've posed to you. I mean, I think the people can make their own decision about how they feel about you and your ethical standing, but it's clear
Or
after
lack
the
thereof.
events or lack thereof, emphasis on lack thereof. I think it is clear though, based on the events of the last podcast, Peter's departure because of your mistreatment of him throughout the podcast consistently. I think it's obvious to people that you are morally bankrupt and you have no ethical standing to feel proud of when you go to sleep at night. And I hope that you feel content knowing that you are not going to end up in heaven, but you are going to spend an eternity suffering in the most flaming depths of hell.
Get this. Fuck Peter Monte.
Oh my god.
And what is he going to do about it?
I guess you're right, bro. I mean,
I personally wouldn't say that, but I don't know. What
that's kind of crazy, man.
I don't think it's crazy at all. I think it's well merited for someone who laughed at my business advances, although I'm more successful than he is. Obviously, he's an NYU third student. He's a smart guy, but I just think he made the wrong decision, to go against me and to go against my business and the business that I built off my back.
Wait, what business are you referring to? Is this the soap business?
Well, I'm referring to Buffalo Web Products, as a web of products, as a brand. It's an amazing, beautiful brand that I built by my two hands, and I have.
So wait, this started. I remember it was. You were trying to sell the soap grinder. You pivoted to web design, and how's that going now? I actually haven't really.
It's going amazingly. It's going amazingly, Joey. I have clients, I work with financial advisors, I work with
All right.
finance clients,
That's sick.
I built this simple finance platform. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And honestly, just having these negative Nancy's, go on my business and talk shit about what I've created. I don't understand why. I generally don't. I made you, Pierre. I gave you this opportunity. I made you, bro. Let's talk about, I made you, bro. You wouldn't be here without me.
I think Pierce would have been fine on his own. To be honest,
Well, he would have been fine on his own, but he wouldn't have this opportunity, would he? He wouldn't have
I
been.
mean, I wouldn't have had this opportunity if it wasn't for you. You called me one random afternoon in July and was like, "I'm doing this." I was like, "All right, sure."
Of course.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to miss out.
I think Peter Monty is a disgusting human being for what he did to me. I think
All he did was ask you questions, right?
I mean maybe, but like I don't know. I think he asked me.
Objective, honest questions about your track record of sociopathy, Machiavellianism, and no regard whatsoever for other people. And I think it's actually quite baffling that you continue to kind of fully neglect to confront these deeper personal issues that will only prevent you from reaching the heights that you aspire to reach
Yeah,
within business.
you talked earlier about wanting to make this a more educational, helpful platform for people, but like, who's gonna want to learn from someone who's kind of at the helm of this and not really portraying the best image?
It really just comes off as disingenuous, and then you've kind of done everything you can to fully eradicate any goodwill or credibility that we've built up with our loving audience over here.
Well, I think the audience tunes in for me, so I think no matter what I say, they'll still love me. I think that horrible people can still have platforms and still educate.
And I think with that we've reached an impasse, and we might as well end the podcast there.
Yeah, it was
But,
nice being on for the first time, guys. Appreciate the support. I'll be back.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your night, everyone.
I really truly appreciate the conversation that we've kind of had for Tech and Business, and I'm looking forward to continuing releasing more podcasts and doing more for you guys. So I appreciate you guys, Joey and Pierce. There'll be more. There'll definitely be more. I want to continue having rational discussion, and I think we'll be fine. Truly do appreciate you guys listening and tuning in for the full 2 hours, and I think we're done.
Awesome.
Beautiful. That is it. That is it right there.
I knew it. The
That
thing
is right
it needed
there.
a shot in the arm. It needed
That
a shot
is
in
it
the arm.
right there. That's what's gonna sell this podcast.
Yeah.
So Pierce. This is what's gonna happen. This is